We can all agree that there's a lot we don't know about the COVID virus. But is it dangerous to spend so much time focusing on what we don't know that we fail to leverage what we do know? Let's take a look at what we know. First, we know the spike proteins on the virus are crafty and they mutate. Second, we know that vaccines can be extremely effective. Now, the vaccines don't prevent you from getting COVID, but they may help you stay alive in the event that you do. Third item, we know that the outcomes of COVID, particularly long COVID, are often disastrous. You're about to see stories of real people who faced a virus of unrelenting power, and they survived. We hope you will learn from these stories, and we hope that you will become one who supports getting vaccinated.
Went to the hospital. First couple of days, they had me on some type of breathing machine because they told me that's what it was. I did that for probably about maybe 8 days. After about 8 days, the doctor come to me and told me that that I need to sign an affidavit to where if something happened to me and if I was about to die, who would I want to make the decision? My wife or whoever. But anyway, I told him the person I want to make the decision was my wife. So and again at this time I'm not feeling no pain or nothing. I'm thinking, well, I'm in my mind. I'm like, what are y'all talking about?
The first moment that I actually knew I had COVID was when I got my COVID vaccine, because I got extremely sick in January of 2020. I had symptoms of severe coughing, lots of fatigue, lots of body ache. And I was extremely scared because when I was a child, I had my lungs collapsed as a child. I had a pulmonary situation when I was very young. And I had symptoms that were similar to that when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And I remember having to go to Children's and getting on a breathing machine and all the things to save my lungs at that point. So I thought to myself that I needed to take myself to get checked out.
After about maybe 7, 8 days, one of the nurses came up to me and got in my ear. I was laying down in the bed. She got in my ear. She said, Mr. Brown, she said, you remember we talked to you about what would happen if you get to that point? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, were you at that point? She said, so what do you want me to do? She said, you want me to call your wife? I said, no. She said, so what do you want us to do? I said, the only thing that I can ask y'all to do is keep me alive. Anything past that, God is going to do the rest. It's not in y'all hand, it's in God's hand. So after that, I seen all these doctors probably went from maybe 1 or 2 doctors being in the room, probably 20 doctors. And they was talking about this. So we just doing a whole bunch of talking. And one of them came up to me and they said, well, Mr. Brown, we're going to put you to sleep. He said, you'll know in about 5 or 10 minutes, it'll start, you'll start dozing off or whatever the case may be. So I dozed off, and the only thing I know, I stayed in the coma for 14 days. But in the coma, it was, I guess with me, the biggest thing is I thank God that I know who God is. And I think that I've searched the scriptures and I understand the scriptures. Because to be in that coma for 14 days, it made it appear that I was in heaven. But I knew that I wasn't in heaven.
By the time I had went to the doctor, during that time, they did not have anything to diagnose COVID. And by God's grace, I think that I had already made it through the severity of the worst part of the disease. And, going back full circle as I was able to collect myself and my body began to recuperate when we were told what this was going on globally and the fear and the anxiety of all that collectively we all experienced. I was frightened and I didn't realize that maybe that was something I had already experienced until the vaccines were available.
After I woke up, I felt as though that everything that I thought about, everything, I really had took it as though it was true. So when I was seeing my wife, because she would look at me and ask me, do you know who I am? And I would say, yeah. When I'm looking at her, I'm like, no, I don't know No, but I would say, yeah. It's just that every common sense thing that I knew was pretty much gone.
The anxiety and the fear didn't really kick into play until after I had already recovered. And then we had a global announcement that there is this rampant virus that is killing people dead. And that's really when the fear came in. And to be quite honest, I have never really fully articulated how grateful I was to be a person who had it first. And I think that I got a huge degree of grace and mercy from some higher power way beyond my comprehension that allowed me to get it first before I knew how scared that I probably should have been.
My son took it real bad. And I'm not saying that my daughter and my wife didn't, but it's like when you laying in a bed in the image of death and you looking at your family and you see the look on my son's face. I never seen that look before. I didn't really see that same look on my wife's face and my daughter's face, but I seen it on my son's face. So to see that look on his face, I'm like, I gotta be in bad shape. The biggest thing would be is like when it get cold, for whatever the reason may be, it's hard for me to breathe. And I know that that's coming from my lungs. Because when I got COVID, it really messed my lungs up. So that, then when it comes down to strength, I can tell, I can't walk backwards now. If I walk backwards, I can tell the muscles won't allow me to do it. And I know that all of that is a part of long-term COVID.